back here on the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford. John, the disappointment of last weekend, LSU versus Wisconsin, all the hype of the offseason that, you know, they were going to make some changes on offense. And we knew that there weren't going to be major changes. But, man, this looked like the same team we saw during the year. Leonard Fournette, 138 yards rushing. And believe me, he got all that on his own. The offensive line play was horrible against Wisconsin. Wisconsin, though, 73 offensive plays, LSU 50. Listen, your defense, you can't put them in that spot. 1, 2, 3 punt, 1, 2, 3 punt, and they got to get off the field. They got to find a way to get off the field, but you saw it here. They jumped on LSU, and then all of a sudden, big mode changed, and it was Tre'Davious White. We'll talk a little bit more about him on our Spotlight segment. But, John, he played like an All-American up against Wisconsin.
The thing about him is he was around the football. He was out there playing hard for 60 minutes of football. And if you watch these guys on defense, they came to play. Yeah, granted, there were some situations where they didn't make plays. Here's one right here. We get a
Trey gets the pickup after
the fumble. But overall, I thought the defense played well enough. You're right, 73 plays is way too much. But offensively, this LSU offense, I mean, there's a word they call it vanilla. This is beyond vanilla. This is abstract vanilla. This is pathetic. I've seen high school Pee Wee leagues can do better than this.
And then this may have been one of Brandon Harris's best pass. He throws it out to Trayvon Durrell. Man, I tell you what, give me that field goal kicker, Wisconsin guy. No, he don't look, like a regular kicker does. But, man, he was spot on. And then this is the big play here. Throw the ball out of bounds.
Unbelievable.
And then I don't know what he was looking at on that.
And this
play.
is the hit of the week right here. Oh, there it is.
Jesus.
Replay, what a hit. I give him credit. That's a heck of a hit.
And then Les tries to defend that.
Right.
I mean, come on. You cannot be that naive.
That is the problem with Les Miles. He's going to defend a guy that almost killed a guy in a football game where it plays over with. He's going to defend a quarterback who can't play for some high school teams these days. He's going to defend his offense. Les, you got to quit defending people and say you're too nice of a guy. This is going to cost you your job. You've got to do something from an offensive standpoint to get more than 7 points against a Wisconsin team.
The other thing about it, too, is that you see how this team is built. You got superstars across the board. You got to understand, why wouldn't you go 3 wides, open the field up? They've got to go after the third wide receiver and a tight end. Then you throw the long pitch to Fournette, and he's not up looking at a team picture of the defense each and every time. That offense is antiquated. That little short pitch, man, that went out 25 years ago.
I've seen that for so many years with Les Miles. The quarterback turned around, short pitch to the guy in the I formation, and he's going to hit it up the guard spot. And I made comments this weekend. Run him off tackle to the outside. And look what he did in the second half when they started to get him on the outside. This is an outside runner, off tackle to the outside runner. And I like what you said. Go 3 wide, tight end, and he put him in the running back, hand him the football that way where he can zone read block and maybe cut back and do things that way. They're not even developing nothing like this. This is the worst offensive formations and philosophy and play calling I've seen in my entire life.
The other thing, too, is to watch Brandon Harris. And, I think Cam Cameron, when he's involved with a professional quarterback, he can take that guy and notch him up a little bit. I've never seen him develop a high school quarterback to a college guy. Watch Brandon Harris when he throws. Most of his throws, John, he's off balance. He's throwing off his back foot. He's feeling phantom pressure that sometimes is not even there. On the long throw to Fournette, nobody's around him. He's skipping back. He's throwing the ball, and he's falling back, making the throw. That, to me, tells me he's fundamentally, you can't train him at this point. You can't break him of those habits.
Not just that, I saw a couple other passes, like the quick hitch passes. He threw 6'3" receivers well over their heads. That's quick hitches. He's throwing the ball high that way. And then the pass he threw to the tight end for his only completion of the game for 19 yards, he could have got him killed. He floated one over there because you're right. He don't have the feet work. The pick at the end of the game, he spun out of there and just turned it through. No footwork whatsoever, nothing. I don't think he sees the field very well. That's coaching. I don't think he sees the defense enough to read it. That's coaching. And he sure doesn't get the coaching on his feet work. And that's all comes to what? Coaching.
I think the other thing, too, is that you got to develop a certain mental toughness as a quarterback. And right now, he doesn't have it. And so we're going to go to highlights, though, of Florida State Ole Miss and a freshman quarterback in Francois. He showed you some mental toughness. But, man, the first half, John, I thought your boys were going to take this and blow them out the way they played. Francois was struggling. He was getting hit on a lot of plays. Now, that's a heck of a throw.
That's the play right here, I think, that changed the whole game when he scored and got popped and got hurt and got back up.
And then again, with that little read option play, takes off downfield. Man, you talk about an athlete. He runs it on that particular play. Ole Miss is still up now, 28-16. But, man, they closed the gap quickly and scored. Ole Miss is still trying to block DeMarcus Walker. I mean, he was a one-man show on that particular team. But they wore down Ole Miss's defense in the second half of that game. And then Chad Kelly, he didn't get much protection in the second half of that football game. He's trying to make plays, but Florida State's defense came up big. And again, when they needed a play, Jimbo came up with one on the little toss sweep out. And that was it, John.
Yep.
Water was coming over it, and then Francois, pretty pass right over the top to the tight end.
My whole take, we talk about the Ole Miss game against Florida State. I don't think they wore out Ole Miss's defensive front as much as they wore out
seven.
the linebacking core for Ole Miss in the secondary got lit up by a freshman quarterback or redshirt freshman quarterback, and in adjustments made by their coach where Ole Miss went into halftime. I don't care if you're leading football games by 50. You still can make adjustments on your offensive side of football, and I don't think that's what Hugh Freeze did. They tried to rush themselves in that, knowing you got to play 60 minutes of football. I never was one to believe you win the first half and get on a bus and go home and you get rewarded for the victory. You must play 60 minutes, and that's what Jimbo told his guys at halftime. Hey, guys, they won the first half. All we got to do is win and outscore them in the second half. I didn't think they were going to do it in the first 5 minutes, and they scored 30-something points against the Rebels, but you were right. That's the team you play against. That team right there, Florida State, showed me something offensively with a freshman quarterback, play action, drop back, in the eye, in the shotgun, rolled him out. They did so much stuff right there. Why can't an LSU team do that with that football club?
Because I'll be honest with you, LSU got more talent on the hoof than Florida State.
There's no doubt about it.
No doubt. Man, listen, I got to give Tulane a lot of credit here. They lost the football game to Wake Forest, but their defense played absolutely lights out. John, I'm telling you, I think Willie Fritz, if he has enough time in a couple years to get the talent offensively for that team, I think he can turn the curve here with the Tulane Green Wave. The problem is offensively now playing a freshman quarterback. He's got a lot of kind of scheme-wise things that he needs to adjust. But man, I was impressed with how well Tulane played defensively on the road.
Right,
that's a big part of it.
And look, Wake Forest had some players now. They had some good football players. Wake Forest's defense was ranked one of the top defense in the ACC. They have some quality football players that return for Wake Forest. Wake Forest has put some points on the board in a few games last season, but to go in and only give up 7 points against a team on the road. Granted, Tulane had opportunities in this football game. They had a lot of opportunities to win this football game, and you can't do it. When they had out yardage against Wake Forest, but if you're only scoring 3 points, you can't win football games. Sort of like only scoring 7 points for somebody up the road.
One of the things, too, is we brought him up in the Spotlight segment last week, but Tanzel Smart, Wake Forest is still trying to figure out how to block him. He wasn't just beating one cat, he was beating 2 guys and a heavy influence right up the middle. And I'm telling you, we talked about Vernon Butler a year ago on this program. Tanzel Smart's not as big, but that guy is a playmaker for Tulane. And I think if he can get the right quarterback and running backs for that system and offensive linemen, which I think is key when you're running that scheme that Willie's got, I think they're on the right track.
It's more like a wing T type offense. You got to find those style of offensive linemen, quicker, shorter, faster ones. Whereas the running back department, you got to find a quarterback who's kind of a running back and maybe can throw a little bit. But we shall see.
Well, you better find 2 because if
you
play that
ain't
system,
no doubt. I know.
You understand.
I know what that
you
means.
get hit a lot. We'll be back with more of the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford.